It's birthday time. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Heavy Repping. My name is John Tron Davidson, and I'm here once again in our super best fancy double camera test location in the southwest of England. So the 13th of October is our official birthday here at the Rep, and it's been an insane year, a truly crazy year for this humble little platform. All the benchmarks we've hit are genuinely things that I never thought we would do, if I'm totally honest, and even though the numbers don't seem like much in a world with billions and billions of people following, dog accounts and stuff, it's still a huge deal to me and to this community as a whole. So in May, we hit 100 videos. We passed 2,300 followers on Instagram recently, and well on our way to 750 on YouTube, which, considering what I do here and how frequently we upload, is still a massive deal, so thank you very much. Obviously the big thing is that in March we launched the shop on heavyrepping.com, and there are currently 20 makers on there offering some of the finest picks available on the market. We ship to 23 countries. Hundreds of picks have gone out. Hundreds of picks. And bear in mind that this scene, as it is now, as you are watching this now, the boutique scene is still really in its infancy. For us to be able to do that on a site that is this big with this amount of a following is still crazy to me. The fact that you all go on there and order picks and have them shipped all over, quite literally all over the world, just blows my mind completely. So if you've done that, or you've even looked at the site, or you've even heard about the site from a friend who told you about it from a guy that he also kind of knew, everything helps, and genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all your support, intentional or otherwise. We also launched the podcast, Welcome to the Plectroverse, which I've really enjoyed doing. I much prefer interviewing people than being interviewed, if I'm going to be honest. Although big shout outs to Chris Johnson, who interviewed me on Players Pick podcast the other day. Thanks, Chris. You're a dude. Chris was also featured on my podcast, which I really appreciate him being on. We had Ben Smith on, a tremendous slide player, John Gregson, who's in the pit band for Prince of Egypt. Both Rick and Drew from Honey Picks came on, Chris from Dragon Picks, Nads from Arcanum, Jack from Jaketto. It's such a cool thing to have this community of people to talk about this stuff and not feel weird about being excited about something that I genuinely do love unconditionally. So all of you who came on, thanks very much. I also did a bunch of videos with bands like OK Bye and Don't Worry. We shot the drop test. We shot from Brick to Pick with Nads from Arcanum. Did ASMR for the first time. I never thought I'd do that. Tales of the Pick, which I really enjoyed. I'm so close to finishing my Will Hoover audiobook of picks, which is here. I have one chapter left to go, and finding the time to do it has been very difficult, so I appreciate all your patience with that, but it's nearly done and I can't wait to share that with you. I've finally managed to get myself a computer that works rather than recording into an ancient laptop, which made everything really hard. So as I'm doing this now, I know my production values have got up. I really appreciate all the comments from people saying, oh, on videos from like a year ago, there was one this morning where a guy said, I really love your playing in clean tone and what amp you use and all that, and I went back and watched it and I thought, good God, that sounds terrible. Really bad. And it's good to know that no matter what I think of this or whatever imposter syndrome you get, I know that I've come really far, and I understand how to do this more. But I appreciate all the patience and support that I've had with that. That's really cool. In the last year, I've collected some of the best looking, most magnificent picks from all sorts of people from all over the world, with new makers, old makers, vintage stuff. I started getting really into the vintage thing. And there's some tremendous people out there selling vintage stuff, trusted sources that I can get my gear from. I'm thrilled to be able to have their patronage through eBay and all the rest of it. So to the vintage community, Brian and Guy and Tina and all that, Jeff White, a massive thanks to all of you for having the passion and the care to do this. and to keep all this information alive. I've been reading through Pick Collectors Quarterly, which is archived online. Really, really fascinating stuff. And I would also like to say, on that note, a big thank you to my man Chuck Kirby, who does our the Deeper Focus essays, which are interviews with guitar players in Japan. It's been really, really fascinating to have that, and I think it's really important to preserve all this stuff going forward so that people get a real sense of where we've come from as a community. So Chuck, massive thanks to you, mate. Cheers. Something that was very difficult this year, and is still a bit of a nippy thing to talk about, is the fact that we lost Joe Macey, who was the leading light in the vintage scene and somebody that inspired me deeply personally to do this. Really, really, really made me want to be as good of an archivist as I could be, and as good of a enthusiast for the community as I could possibly be, because he was. I was deeply affected by Joe's death, despite it not coming as a surprise or anything, but I know the community feels his loss very keenly, and I will continue to share his work every Wednesday. As it happens, this video will be going out, or will hopefully be going out, on the 15th of this month when you're seeing it, and even though our birthday is on the 13th, I've decided to keep that as Vintage Wednesday, which is when I share Joe's work out of reverence. So if you haven't gone and checked out his channel, there's links to it both on the link tree through Instagram, and there's a playlist of his stuff on this channel as well. So go and have a look at it, because that guy knew more about vintage picks than I'll ever know, and I'm thrilled to be able to share his work with you. He was a wonderful guy. So Joe, wherever you are, thanks for everything. One of the things that I think Joe would sincerely have loved, because he was excited about modern stuff as well, is the fact that so many makers came out in the last year, and the scene really found its feet and developed at an exponential rate that even I couldn't have foreseen despite my involvement in it. And having people like Mean Tone and WooDo and Northern Ghost come out and make all this stuff, the rise of honey picks, how far that's gone, Fatfish and everything else. There's new makers coming out all the time. There's people starting to develop into other things like grips and all this sort of stuff, Plek pads and Depic Argentina and the guys over at UCT and all this sort of stuff. I don't think this is fully understood enough, and perhaps it's just because I'm trying to look at it from the outside and I'm not a maker, but this community's exponential growth and the fact that people who are coming into it now know that they have a central battery of people ready to support them with all sorts of information and all sorts of techniques and history and all that sort of stuff really does make it a great place to be and get involved in. All of that stuff makes a big difference, because in all honesty, one of the most important things to me about this, and if I may be serious with you for a moment, one of the most important things to me about this community is the fact that it is always on the outside. It is always having to justify its existence, because the community as a whole, the guitar community particularly as a whole, is not fully ingratiated into this idea of picks being this and not some throwaway, absent-minded sort of tertiary thing. To have a community to come into that's starting to understand its roots, its origins, and its importance, not only to players but to the people who just love these things and make them, is a massive, massive deal. And 3 years ago, that did not exist. It was not a thing. And although heavy repping has been instrumental in facilitating that, there'd be nothing to talk about if it weren't for the makers, the collectors, all the people that buy picks worldwide, all the people that want to read about them, all the people that archive stuff. It is such a big deal to have this community. Honestly, it gives me a sense of purpose as a person, and I know I've talked about this loads in live streams and all that, but there's a Plectroverse without heavy repping, you know? We helped make it a thing by putting everybody together, but it's only because there were people to bring together that it was a thing. So if you've watched this far into the video, thanks. thanks for being a part of this on any level. Thanks for supporting the shop. Thanks for supporting me. Thanks for supporting the makers. Thanks for loving picks, because they're amazing. And as we go into next year, there's all sorts of cool stuff happening already that's on the books. I really can't wait to share the next 12 months with you, and many more. So to everyone involved in the community, thank you from the bottom of my heart, way down here. It's really important. All glory to the Plectroverse. My name is John Troy Davidson. This is Heavy Repping, and I'll see you soon. So remember, if you're not sure what to do in life, rep hard and rep heavy.